Fear is the strongest natural and very interesting human emotion. It seems that fear appeared together with man and never left him. In primitive people, it fulfilled the most important function of self-preservation. Fear of hunger drove people to hunt. Fear of death gave strength to survive. Fear of natural phenomena, like thunderstorms or volcanic eruptions, developed intellectual abilities. People tried to explain everything unknown and scary, and to understand how to resist natural cataclysms. When frightened, primitive man could quickly run away from a wild animal, or on the contrary, attack it. When a wild animal attacked, there was no time to think, only lightning-fast decision-making saved from death. It was fear that was the catalyst for this decision. If the brains of our distant ancestors did not contain amygdaloid bodies playing a key role in the formation of fear, we would hardly have been destined to be born in such a beautiful and civilized world. But there's a flip side to every coin. The same emotion that played a crucial role in the survival of mankind often turns us into inert people and drags us into the swamp of the comfort zone. In our complex and modern lives, fear often arises not from immediate physical danger, but from anxieties, insecurities, and our interpretations of potential negative consequences. Today's video will be specifically about the other side of the coin. The posts were not suggesting that we strive for absolute fearlessness. Obviously, it would be extremely foolish to cross the road without looking around, because you could easily be hit by a chariot. They saw rational fear as an essential survival tool that recognizes real danger and promotes reasonable caution. But at the same time, they warned against irrational fear, which in turn is a product of our perception and causes depression, anxiety, and shame. Rather than resisting, thus allowing fear to drag itself into the swamp, ancient philosophers accepted it as an integral part of the human experience. They believed that fear is not a monstrous monster that lurks in the shadows, just waiting to take over our minds. The belief that fear arises in the mind as a product of our perception means that fear is simply the reaction we have when we believe that things may not go the way we want them to, Seneca said. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Let us imagine that we have to give a paper at a scientific conference thinking that we will fail or that the audience will laugh at us. The philosophy of Stoicism has at all times helped to cope with difficulties and make people's lives better. Seneca said that the main cause of fear is our inability to adapt to the present moment and our habit of sending our thoughts far ahead of us. So anticipation of the greatest of the benefits given to man turns into evil animals run only at the sight of danger, and having fled from them no longer feel fear. We are tormented by the future and the past. Often our ability to judge what we experience is seen as a characteristic that distinguishes us from the rest of the animal kingdom. However, it is this ability to reason that creates a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we can use it to solve complex problems, plan for the future, create stories, and connect seemingly unrelated threads. On the other hand, our judgment can be clouded by bias. We make false connections where none exist. Our reality is distorted. Journeys can be clouded by bias. We make false connections where there are none. Our reality is distorted by delusions. And much of this distortion of life can cause us to simply become fearful. The antidote to this is objective judgment, or our ability to see the world as it is. By practicing an objective view, we take off the glasses that distort the real picture while reducing things around us to what they really are. One of our biggest problems is that we don't use facts to form opinions, but use opinion to form facts. Imagine you are about to speak in front of an audience and you feel overwhelmed by fear. The fear may come from thoughts like, "I will forget the words," or "people will judge me." But these are not facts. They are speculative judgments that increase the likelihood of harm and cause fear. Now, apply objective judgments. The fact is that you are just talking to a group of people, nothing more. Tell me, did you think badly of the speakers who spoke before you? Did you think badly of them at all? Then what makes you think they'd think badly of you? You think too highly of yourself. All the extra scary details are a figment of your mind, not the situation. Epictetus said that what's scary is not death or suffering, but the fear of death or suffering. We may be facing a difficult conversation that we have been putting off for months, or we may be about to embark on a new project that is a serious test of our abilities, or it may be a job change, or moving to a new city, starting a relationship, and any of these events can trigger fears and anxieties that hold us back, and we may suddenly feel trapped. Mark Twain said in his long life, "I have experienced many troubles, most of which never happened," and Seneca also wrote about it. It is likely that trouble will happen, but not immediately, and how often it does not happen, how often the expected does not come true. Even if there is suffering to come, what is the use of running towards it? When it comes, you will suffer immediately, but in the meantime, count on the best. Obviously, many things we fear will never happen, but definitely not all of them. Usually, people try to reduce anxiety by cheering up and reassuring themselves that everything will be okay. But this kind of approach is the very real source of fear. But why? It's simple. By doing so, we unconsciously reinforce our belief that the worst-case scenario will be a real disaster for us. Seneca has another rather interesting quote about fear. If you want to get rid of all anxiety, imagine that frightening you will happen for sure and whatever the trouble, find and measure and weigh your fear. Then you will surely realize that the misfortune you fear is either not so great or not so lasting. And there is no contradiction here. Ben Elton said, "Hope for the best, prepare for the worst." Let's say you overhear a director tell his deputy that there are plans for massive staff cuts next month, up to and including the elimination of entire departments. Inducing yourself that you will not be affected will be quite foolish, because deep down you will regard the dismissal as the end of the world. Instead, you can prepare for the worst so that you can visualize a detailed plan of action. You can think once about what you will say to your boss and what you can save money on while you look for a new job. After spending some time thinking about it, you'll realize that no disaster is going to happen. So why be afraid? At the heart of most of our fears is the fear of what others will think of us. It paralyzes, it skews, it distorts the very fabric of our reality. It literally forces us to enter into a behavior so insane and cowardly that it's hard to describe in words. The English literary critic Cyril Connolly once joked, "Many people are kept from suicide only by fear of what their neighbors will say about it. We care a great deal about what others think. We fear them even when we are far away and cannot hear them. The paradox is that almost everything new, impressive, right, has been done over the loud objections of the established order. Many things we now like were often looked down upon by people at the time of their creation or commissioning, and now pretend they never happened. We often lack the skill or willingness to see that objections are just an obstacle to be overcome." When Frank Serpica spoke out about corruption in the NYPD in 1970, another honest cop congratulated him. "But why didn't you stand by me and come forward when help was needed?" Serpica asked. "What? To become a pariah like you?" replied the other policeman. Yes, after all, what is the alternative? Letting their colleagues extort money from those they are supposed to protect, letting them collaborate with criminals. They are supposed to shield people from people. People are more likely to become accessories to crime than conspiring against others. More likely to become victims of a pandemic than agreeing to be the only person in disguise. Cicero said, "What others say about you, let them think for themselves. That's what they'll say anyway. You can't let fear rule you. because there has never yet been a person who has done something meaningful without annoying other people. There's never been a change that wasn't questionable, and there is never a time when the average opinion of strangers should be valued above our own. If you like the video, I kindly ask you to subscribe, like and share your opinion in the comments. It helps a lot in promoting the channel.